Puan Puan Tuan Tuan. Swadika. A hearty good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all my virtual video audiences and my physical audiences here. Why? Today is a day of social networking, of collaboration, and I'm being video recorded. Let me be sensitive to the fact that I will be seen across time zones, that this message is going to reach audiences of different cultural and globally diverse sets where people have different preferences, people have different languages, different cultures, and definitely when it comes to social networking, I'll have to be sensitive to every one of their needs. And that's why I wished you all good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, all at the same time. Well, that is the age of social networking. That's the kind of impact it has had in our lives. Not very long ago, what did computers deal with? Well, let me go back to the age of my grandpa. If I use the word mousepad, it would mean to him a place where the mouse lives. If I use the word hard drive, what would it mean to him? A long road trip. If I use the word keyboard, at best it could mean a piano. But you see what it means today. From that age to today, where we are speaking of social networking, we're speaking of collaboration, I take a very different perspective towards it. And thanks again to the social network that alerted me to the fact. Welcome to the world of lunatics. Yes, my light audience, I called yourself and myself lunatics. What else are we if we stare at monitors and take a hearty laugh at ourselves? What else would it mean if I graze cows and sheep on farms that don't exist? I cook in cauldrons that are virtual. I sell my bakes and my cakes and my pastries on virtual shops bought from virtual bakeries that don't exist. And at the end of the day, I make money out of it. Now, come on. Whom am I joking? Isn't that traits of people from a lunatic asylum? Well, Balaji, can I have a marker, please? I just want to scribble something on that wall. Balaji is already thinking I'm a lunatic. But then, don't we scribble on others' walls? And don't we take pride about it? I go about poking people, and I think that's fun. What else could I call this world of social networking? And anyone who gets the application? Yes, it's Facebook. You're right there. You poke people, you scribble on their walls, you cook, you graze animals on farms that don't exist, and you take pride about it at the end of the day. And that's about the new culture, the culture that has spread like a viral network all over us. That's the kind of impact it's having in our lives today. Let me recall an incident that happened from one of the colleagues of mine a couple of years back. This was about the time that she just got into Facebook. She didn't know how to be discreet about what she posts and what she doesn't. And this is what she did. One fine Sunday afternoon, she just goes ahead and types, "Feel like having a couple of drinks. Let me go down to Hard Rock Cafe." Whereas those of you who are from Hyderabad would know, Hard Rock Cafe is a pub downtown in Hyderabad. She just made a very innocent post, updating her status as she thought appropriate. And guess what? A couple of hours later, a drive down to Hard Rock Cafe, and she expects to be there all alone. But she's greeted by three perfect strangers, three gentlemen who she absolutely doesn't know. Neither by their faces, nor does she know them by names. And they walk up to her and say, "Hi, so-and-so, I'm so-and-so." And she's surprised. She's like, "Excuse me, do I know you?" Well, the first gentleman says apologetically, "But lady, I thought you had just updated your Facebook account." She was like, "What's this about?" "Oh, yeah, I did mention that I'm coming here. Yes, and I'm your Facebook friend. And that's why I'm here." And you see the kind of impact that has had? She actually had to walk out of the cafe that day because she didn't want to spend time with these three strangers. Let's recall one more incident. This is a 16-something girl whom I happen to know, and her father is concerned about what she's been doing on the web pretty late into the nights, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Well, in India, social networking is still considered taboo in some of the, I would say, non-urban circles. And this lady's father happens to be from one of those rural zones of India. This is what he does. He comes, talks with me and one of my friends, who happen to be friends of this lady on the social network, logs in with my friend's account, and goes and checks her status updates, only to see her cooing and getting mushy about, oh, so sweet, oh, I love you, and saying this to 15-odd guys whom she possibly doesn't know. What's the kind of impact that it has on the father? Well, I agree. The girl has every right to express herself, but then, like someone was just mentioning, you need to have your communities. You need to use discretion of what messages be visible to whom. And when you put material on public, all your content is going to be reviewed. It's going to be scrutinized. You're possibly even going to be judged. And that's where lies the other side of social networking. Yes, this is a talk on social and collaborative networking, and I'm going to show you some of the brighter sides of it. But then nevertheless, let's not forget, this is a medium that's so powerful that it can change and impact lives. We need to be sensitive to this fact. And not only that, as we see these little incidents that have impacted lives, either for the better or for the worse, we need to look at those perspectives of the lessons that we learn from various kinds of social networks that have come, that have died, that have lost into oblivion, that have survived, thrived, and are now thriving even better. Not many years back, most of you would remember of GeoCities. GeoCities was one of the very popular blogging and online space and storage provider network. Where is it today? How many of us even maybe looked at the GeoCities account in the last couple of months? It's lost. We also know about Orkut, which started off very big. And how many of you know why Orkut didn't pick up as well as some of the other more popular networks? Well, the story, again, has a lesson for us to learn. Orkut started off as an individual user and an individual engineer attempt to building a social network. This was a person in Google who had an idea, who went ahead and implemented his idea. And this idea actually came forth and was brought about into what we today know as Orkut. But then, people at Google at that point in time did neither accept the network, nor did they claim that Orkut and Google were separate entities. So whenever reporters and journalists would go down to Google and ask, hey, is Orkut associated with you? They would say, no comments. We neither disclaim ownership, nor do we claim ownership. And you see what happened. Whereas Google, right from the very beginning, knew that Orkut was based on a certain technology platform that I don't name that could not scale well enough initially. Google knew that it wouldn't scale well enough, but Google didn't take those attempts to make it scalable. And then, as more and more users joined, as it crossed the million and then the tens of millions mark, Orkut started getting slow. So slow, in fact, that people actually started leaving Orkut away for other, more favorite networks and social platforms. Facebook took this opportunity, and people at Facebook and MySpace, mind you, at about the same time, used this opportunity to build scalable networks with minimalistic features to begin with, and they slowly added on the features. Remember, all great user engineering comes not with when there are no more features to add. It comes with when there are no more features to remove. In one word, simplicity. When there is absolutely the essential thing more, that's where it clicks. Why else do you think Sony Walkmans with all those gadgets that they had and XBS levels that they had didn't succeed, whereas an iPod with barely any controls still succeeded in the market? So there lied the clue. Social networks have given us many such lessons. Some of these lessons are also paving way for the future. One of these lessons that I would want to alert you right now to will be the lesson that the power of the collaborative enterprise, the wisdom of the crowds. How many of you read this book, The Wisdom of the Crowds? Mobs and Masses? Okay. So these are research tomes which actually, in the language of common people, exposes about how common human and an individual intelligence are very different from the networked human intelligence. The networked human intelligence acts as a body that sees patterns, that realizes truths, sometimes so profound that no elemental research would ever expose them. This is what is called as the wisdom of the crowds. And this wisdom of the crowds is the primary reason why a lot of the social entities today, a lot of the social networking and collaborative sites today are also focal points of research. What kind of research? Well, there have been so many kinds of research that have dealt with network analysis. But social network analysis over the last decade has taken one of the prime important, I would say, subject areas of research in most of the computer science and mathematics departments of universities. Well, the discipline is over 70 years old now. But why has it taken most importance today is because social networks have given a platform to test those theories and hypotheses that have always existed in the network analysis platforms. All these years, we have hardly spoken of enormous tasks that have been built by at most 100,000 people. Some of the major, I would say, mausoleums, some of the major artifacts in history, for example, the pyramids of Giza, the Taj Mahal, or for that matter, the largest ships that were built were hardly built with 100,000 people. But today, we're speaking of networks where games, just a single thing, games, have something like 200 million subscribers. 200 million. Think of what you could do with them. The other day, I was watching a TED Talk video that really captivated me. All of you have used the CAPTCHA. Anyone here who doesn't understand what's CAPTCHA? So all of us do. Great. How many CAPTCHAs do you think people are entering in on a day, per day basis? Any guesses? How many CAPTCHAs get typed in or keyed in on a day? 200 million. That's the figure. 200 million a day. Think of it. What is it in a month? 6 billion. Well, that's close to the population of the Earth. Now, what do we do with this data? This data is useful in this sense that if you were to be able to use these 200 million entries fruitfully, you can make something that makes human civilization a little better. Now, how can I use it fruitfully? Now, let's see. The CAPTCHA gives you a piece of text which an ordinary computer optical character recognition cannot understand, but whereas a human brain understands very easily. If I could use CAPTCHAs to translate text from one language to another, a task that human beings can do very simply if they are bilingual. If I give them pieces of text that are digitally scanned and having shown the text to the person, ask the person, are you able to make a valid English word of a small portion of the digital text exposed? They will easily be able to understand it. Now you see where I'm leading to. These are human applications that can be used to make the future of humanity much more brighter. This was precisely the idea that was exposed at the TED Talk. What does this mean? This means that whenever I'm about to expose the next CAPTCHA to people, if I have some means of entirely digitizing texts, including some of our own ancient inscriptions, and then expose them to human individuals and ask them to enter it in as a CAPTCHA, they would actually act as digital translators for us, 200 million of them, every single day of every single month of every year. Think of the number of digital texts that could be translated or that could be digitally reviewed and digitized. These are the kind of applications that social networking sites today should explore and exploit. That's one idea. Well, there are many others. Collaborative platforms have also given us today a way of coming out with innovative commerce techniques that we didn't think of earlier. How many of us have a car? Let me see a throw of hands. Good. And how many of us use a car for more than 5 hours in a day? Remember, while it's being parked on the parking lots, that's not being used. Okay, so now you see how many of us wouldn't mind having the car keys given off to someone else who needs it and get paid for it? You see? Well, how many of you have a toolbox in your home that has a drill machine in it? How many holes did you drill in your life? 5? 10? At best 50? Would you be drilling any more than that? And do you need a drill machine for it? How if I had a local social toolbox shop that allowed you to drill holes and just rent the drill, and I pass it on day after day? Not all of you would drill holes on the same day. Now think of such applications that social commerce can be enabled through these kind of new platforms. I was just asking a female leader the other day as to what kind of application she would expect the social media to give her. And this is what she told me. Anirban, every day when I go home, it really concerns me that my children have returned back from school and there's no one to take care of them. It would be so nice if I could watch them on the phone, tell them what is in the refrigerator, or possibly call up my local baker and tell him to deliver whatever is fresh in the bakery there. If my baker were able to show me what's available on the stalls, I could order what will be best for my children. Now you see, these voices of the customers are actually things that we as technologists can use as ideas to implement. Not very impossible. 3G and 4G technology is already around here, and we can enable these applications. Well, how will ideas of Wi-Fi reach the common man? Let me show you. The local milkman. So often we go out on trips, like I'm out of my city, and my milkman would have still delivered the milk, and the milk will be rotting out there. How nice it would be if I had the ability to inform the milkman there, please don't. And inexpensively. Well, mobile phones are already there, but if I had a mechanism of also having local communities of businesses, the local doctors in a local doctor community, the local milkmen in a local milkman community, and so on and so forth, it would be so much more easier for us to manage and update. I just tweet saying I'm out in Pune. The Hyderabad guy knows that I wouldn't need milk for the day. This kind of connectivity can be brought in. And these are just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many more ideas which can actually help build the world of social collaboration and social applications that can touch every one of our lives. You, me, the milkman, and everybody else. So much so to collaborative and social networking. I hope we have had a few ideas discussed here. There would be so much more that I would love to connect up, but then the networks are there.